Proverbs 12:1 says, "Whoever loves discipline loves knowledge, but he who hates reproof is stupid." Proverbs 12:15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." And Proverbs 17:10 says, "A rebuke goes deeper into a man of understanding than 100 blows into a fool." Hello, my name is Damian Barber. I am the minister at the Dean Road Church of Christ in Jacksonville, Florida. And today I'm continuing to part 3 of my story of coming to Christ and the change that it made in my life. I encourage you to go back and watch those other videos if you have not already done so. I'll have links pop up at the end of the video for you to do that. Now, last week I spoke in a general sense of how becoming a Christian led to a great change in my speech and in my behavior. But that this change, while it may have seemed major to those who knew me before becoming a Christian, it was much more gradual than I would have liked, as I still was very rough around the edges. I briefly mentioned that one girl opened my eyes to just how much more I needed to change, because my attitude and speech had not been very Christ-like in my first major trip that I took with the youth group just about a week after I had become a Christian. I want to go a little deeper into that story today as an illustration of the importance of having Christian influences in our lives who are willing to set us straight at times, as well as our need to listen to reproof or correction or even outright rebuke. Now, these 3 terms all have a similar meaning, and it basically comes down to someone telling us that we are wrong or that we are sinning and that we need to change. Reproof and correction could typically be considered subtler, while rebuke is simply put being set straight in a very direct and sometimes as a harsh wake-up call. The opening verses I mentioned from Proverbs tell us that we are foolish if we do not listen to advice, reproof, and rebuke, but that if we are wise and understanding, we will welcome correction. Sometimes we will foolishly believe that we are in the right when we are totally wrong, and our pride stands in the way of hearing correction with the proper attitude. We must humble ourselves and listen to correction. Now, during the youth trip that we took shortly after I became a Christian, I made quite a few mean and rude comments to people in the youth group. I meant the things I said in a joking around kind of manner, but it certainly was not taken that way, and certainly I should have kept my mouth shut and not said those things that I said. I in no way can justify the things I said and did, and I'm certainly not trying to do that here. I was wrong, plain and simple. I just didn't see it that way at the time. Then one evening, as I felt I had been getting the cold shoulder from members of the youth group, I made a comment of some sort about that to someone, and one of the girls in the youth group heard me say that, and she took it upon herself in that moment to open up to me about just why that was. She openly rebuked me in the foyer of the college we were staying at for this work camp that we were doing as we were painting houses for people in that community. Now, I don't remember her exact words, but the gist of the conversation was that people didn't like me because of the rude and mean comments that I had been making. She set me in my place and made it very clear that I needed to change. I went off and wept, not over hurt feelings, but because I realized she was right. I had been a jerk. I had not changed enough from the way I was before I became a Christian. I prayed to God and spent time worshiping God, singing some of the songs that I had recently learned in youth group, among which was a song called "Break My Heart," which has the words, "Break my heart, dear Lord. Tear the barriers down. Show me in convicting tears the glory of your crown. My sin is great, but I can see the glory set for me. Show me, Father, where to start and gently break my heart. My heart is hard, my soul so weak. The ways of evil cut so deep. I need you, Lord, to come inside and gently break my heart. Now, after I spent about an hour or so in prayer, singing, and meditation on what I had been told and the changes that I needed to make, I went back inside. Curfew was about to be upon us, and when I went inside, I found the girl who had rebuked me, and she was in tears over what she had said to me, and she was talking to some of her friends there who were trying to comfort her. She felt like she had been mean and hurtful towards me, even though she was totally right and her words were exactly what I needed to hear. I wanted to tell her those very things in that moment, but unfortunately, as I was about to try to talk to her, they rushed us off to our rooms for curfew. And the girls and the guys were in separate areas, so there was no chance for me to talk to her that night. I did write her a note that night as I struggled to sleep because I felt bad about how she felt bad about what she had said to me, because I didn't find what she said hurtful and knew it was exactly what I needed. And I wish I just had a chance in that moment before we gone our separate ways to say that so that she could be comforted by the knowledge that she had done me no wrong, but actually had done a great good by putting me in my place a bit that night. Ultimately, I didn't find what she said mean at all. A bit frank and with no holding back the truth or trying to sugarcoat it in any way. But it wasn't mean or hurtful, at least not in my mind. It could be that I just didn't remember all of what she said to me, but took the gist of things away and ignored some of the attitude or the words that could be considered hurtful, because it was, in the moment, exactly what I needed to hear, in the tone that I needed to hear it. I didn't need the truth sugar-coated. I needed to be told that I was being a jerk and that I was wrong. Now, in general, the Bible encourages us to be gentle in our correction of others who are sinning. And in most cases, this is certainly the way that we need to be. But we see from examples of the prophets and even Jesus himself, remember him turning over tables in the temple. So we see from them that direct, harsh rebuke is sometimes what is needed to get someone straight. This is what I needed that night, and I heeded her advice, her correction. Now, I wasn't perfect with my words and attitudes after that moment, and I still am not perfect in what I say and my attitudes sometimes. But I made a huge step that night towards being kinder with my words and watching what I say and not being rough in my jesting. That night was the second major turning point in my spiritual life when it came to making changes in my behavior. The first being, of course, when I decided to put Christ on in baptism. I want to close now with a couple more scriptures from Proverbs. Proverbs 15:31 through 32 says, "The ear that listens to life-giving reproof will dwell among the wise. Whoever ignores instruction despises himself, but he who listens to reproof gains intelligence." And Proverbs 13:18 says, Poverty and disgrace come to him who ignores instruction, but whoever heeds reproof is honored. Do you want to be wise and gain intelligence? Then listen to correction and reproof from others. Be the kind of person that people can feel they can come to you and be open and honest with you about your shortcomings so that they can help you recognize them and make a change for the better. And we all need to be those who watch out for our brothers and sisters that are willing to take a moment to enlighten one another on the truth of the changes that we need to make. As always, I've hoped you've gotten something from today's lesson. If you haven't already watched the videos of part 1 and part 2 of my story, you can go here and watch those. I really encourage you to do that so you can see how all this kind of came together. And each one has kind of a different lesson that you can take from it, from Jesus being the way, to the change that we need to make in our lives, to this one, of course, about listening to reproof. As always, I hope you have a great day, and God bless you.